For the first time in over a decade, we have an all-new Lexus LX. Today we're going to go over the great things, the new things, and a few things that are definitely falling flat. Over at the Lexus press room, this is the American press room, which we're not going to spend a whole lot of time over there today because there is a Japanese press room, which is the global site, and there's a lot more detail in this press room. So we'll spend a little bit more time over here. And this is our first look at the new LX. Yeah, from the side, you're not going to mistake it for anything else. To me, it looks excellent from the side. The front looks pretty good, especially the standard grille. They've cleaned it up quite a bit. They got a bunch of parallel bars here. There's no longer like a surround bar. The headlights are definitely brought into the modern era of Lexus with the triple beams. And there's a new F Sport for the first time, which the F Sport, holy cow, like we don't need a street performing LX. If anything, we need a more off-roading variant of the LX. Anyways, we'll talk more about that later, but we need to go over some of the new features and the new characteristics of the new TNGA built on the F platform LX600. And you have to keep in mind that the LX's big market is probably the Middle East, and that is where they debuted the new vehicle. The new LX600 was debuted in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia and in the United Arab Emirates. They also had a reveal video and live stream with the UAE as well. In 1996, the LX came out as a 450, had an inline 6 in it. Fast forward today, we go back to 6 cylinders after we had an era of V8s running. We're going back to 6 cylinders. We have a twin turbo V6. Same thing we see in the Land Cruiser and the Tundra. That's not a bad thing. It's a great engine. I just tested it on the Tundra. The spec that's going into the new LX is more high tuned, so it's 409 horsepower compared to the Tundra's 389 horsepower. Like the torque on that, the 479 pound-feet of torque is just a tire roasting machine. Now there's no rear wheel drive setting on the LX. It's always full-time 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, just like it always has been to my knowledge. Now they say that there's 2 new available powertrains. Well, I already mentioned the twin turbo V6. There's also a new diesel engine that we'll go over in the spreadsheet in a little bit, but we're not going to get that here in the United States, of course. Now with the powertrains, we have the 10-speed automatic, which we saw in the Tundra, which we've seen in the LS, the LC for a while. So nothing new there with the 10-speed automatic, just it's new for the LX. It's also about 400 pounds lighter, 200 kilograms, a little over 400 pounds lighter than the outgoing model, which is great to see. That's going to help with fuel economy. Of course, we don't have fuel economy numbers yet, but if the current LX is somewhere around 13 to 15, the new one should be 20 to 25. Isn't that crazy? And we'll talk about hybrids later. So they also have new electronically controlled brakes as well as electric power steering. So there's no more hydraulic power steering. And they're saying this helps them have real light steering when you're going off-road, and it will help you have tight steering while you're driving at high speeds on the highway. Now we're going to go back to the American page because there's a few things that are exclusive to America, and there's also a few things exclusive, like I said, to the diesel for other markets. We'll get into that in a little bit, but the LX has 5 grades here in America. So we have a standard trim, and that's going to have 18-inch wheels, and that should help maybe bring in those Land Cruiser buyers that are now abandoned because there's no Land Cruiser offered here in the United States anymore. Maybe the standard grade is going to be that sort of price of entry for those Land Cruiser buyers. It's hard to say since we don't know exactly how these are equipped yet, so stay tuned for that. There's the premium, there's the luxury, there's the first ever F Sport, and then there's the ultra luxury. And the ultra luxury is probably the most exciting out of all of these. You have a dual screen setup on all the LXs as far as I'm aware, but the ultra luxury takes it several steps further. So you have dual screens for the rear entertainment, no big deal, but now you have a chauffeur mode which pushes the front passenger seat forward for the rear VIP passenger, and an ottoman will fold out. And not only that, the screen that would be taking up the view of the passenger in the back also folds over. That's pretty crazy. You also have, for the first time ever, captain's chairs in this ultra luxury package, and the seats are contoured for the passengers. And Lexus is smart here because there are other packages around the world. I think it might be called the MBS. I'll double check that. But in the Middle East, there's specific outfitters that change the interior of the LX to be more luxurious and set up for 4 passengers. And Lexus is going to bite right into that pie and say, no, we want that market. And here's the new VIP, the executive, the ultra luxury, depending on what market you're in, they call it different things. And that's going to have a screen in the back like the LS. It's going to have reclining and massaging chairs, of course, heated and ventilated seats, etc., etc., etc. So ultra luxury, pretty cool to have that finally on the LX. It's deserved it for so many years, but now we're finally getting it. Now, for most people, you're going to have 3 rows of seats, which is no big deal because we're used to that. And the third row seats now folds flat. However, that third row seats only has 2 seats in the back. No longer is the LX an 8-passenger vehicle. It's either a 4 in the ultra luxury, and the rest of the grades have a 7-passenger configuration. And that's when you start thinking, well, I mean, Lexus kind of doesn't have that large people mover, and the LX kind of is that, but now they're taking away an extra passenger seat. So that's when the new TX comes into play here, this large 3-row crossover that's going to be built, I believe, in Indiana. Lexus TX, that should be coming in about 2 years time. In the meantime, you're going to have to make do with the lackluster RXL or RXHL. It's a joke of a vehicle. The normal RX is great, but yeah, anyways, as well as the GX, which there's no room for cargo once you have all 3 rows assembled, and then the LX, which yeah, it has less capacity than ever at this point for passengers. But I could keep going about the VIP, the ultra luxury package. It's going to be an extreme rarity, and who knows how much it'll cost. $125K here in the United States. That's just my guess. Hopefully it's less. But what I want to hear, and one of the things that excited me the most, is this new 25-speaker Mark Levinson Surround Sound. And even the bass sound system has subwoofers built into the frame, as well as this Mark Levinson. But I thought that was cool that they're making the vehicle's frame a part of the box for the speakers. Pretty neat. The new LX is right upon us. It'll be available here in the United States in the first quarter of 2022. I will bring you hands-on coverage of the new LX. Can't wait. Can't wait to take it off-roading. There's all sorts of new off-roading features. Now, it has the same wheelbase as the outgoing LX, actually, as all the LXs. I think it's a 112-inch wheelbase. And this is going to give it the same off-roading ground clearance as a previous generation. But they've, of course, revised the suspension. It's supposed to be much better on-road, especially in the F-Sport, which is tuned for on-road capability. And then, of course, you have off-road features, which you have 5 different multi-terrain select features like sand, mud, might as well just read it, auto, dirt, sand, mud, deep snow, and rock. So not only can you support, is that available on 4 low, but it's also available on 4 high now for the first time ever. I think this might be the first time ever in a Lexus that we have dual screen. So the top screen is going to be pretty much exactly the same as the navigation screen we have in the new Tundra and the new Lexus NX. However, it's a wide screen. It's not the tall format 14-inch screen. But you have the screen below it, which is going to have your climate control as well as your multi-terrain monitor. So that's pretty cool. You're going to see your roll and pitch angles. It would have been amazing to have that on the new Tundra, but of course that would have driven up costs. But yeah, at least we have it on the LX, and it looks really, really cool, and it's going to be a lot of fun to play with. And one last thing about this dual screen that I thought was really cool is that it will show you the ground underneath the vehicle, but it's not in real time. So what it does is it takes pictures off the front of the vehicle and it kind of stores them in memory. And so as you're going over that area that was just on the front camera's images that it took, or the pictures that it took, can now be displayed as they're under the vehicle. Kind of trippy, but really cool. It's almost like that illusion of that 360 camera top-down bird's eye. It's not really a bird's eye look. It's just kind of blending all the cameras together, and that's what it's doing for the back underfloor view. Like, I could keep going. There's a lot more information here on the new LX. I could keep going, but I think I've gone over the most obvious things so far. I mean, the design overall looks pretty good, in my opinion. It looks like an LX. I'm glad they didn't change the formula that much. And the F-Sport looks ridiculous to me. I would not be going for the F-Sport. That's just me. What about an off-roading vehicle? And this is what the LX is based on. The LX is based off the Land Cruiser, which is one of the best off-roading vehicles, most reliable vehicles ever built in the history of automobiles. Now, the problem is that the Land Cruiser in America has been canceled, and I was hoping that Lexus would announce a special off-roading version for the LX, maybe a base like the standard, but give it some fatter tires and maybe some options at the dealership for rock sliders and more underbody armor. Pretty much, that's what I want. Nothing crazy, and maybe an option on the grille to shorten it for better approach angles on the front. Nothing too crazy. I feel like I'm not asking too much, especially when Lexus showed us the GXOR concepts. There's two of those, as well as the J201 concept, which was based on the LX, and they kitted that thing to the moon and back, and it was just like amazing. It was an amazing vehicle. But what's going on here with this image? Well, there is a rear locking differential button here, and there's also a front locking differential button here. The only one we're getting in America that's been confirmed by Lexus is center differential lock, which is fine for most cases, but to have lockers on the front, the back, and the center would be like, it would be a dream come true. Unfortunately, we're not promised this, at least not yet. Instead, we were given an F Sport model, which, does anyone really want that? I don't know. On the live stream yesterday, over half of you picked the F Sport over the standard model. I think you were just trolling me because you know how triggered I was by the F Sport model. This is how Lexus can fix it. They already have this vehicle, and it's called the off-road model right here. They have an exclusive off-road model for Japan that has the front locking diff, the rear locking diff, and the center diff. And I'll put up a picture for you guys. It has the smaller wheels, a little bit more, I think it has running boards, but below the running boards could be some rock sliders. So like, they have a specific off-roading variant for Japan. I don't know why it's not coming here. Off-roading is so hot here in North America right now, and the fact that you have the most capable, or arguably one of the most capable off-roading vehicles of all time, and you're not giving us that treatment, it's a gut punch to me. It's a kick in the pants, and it's tough for me to accept, especially after there's no more Land Cruiser. And we find ourselves back at the spreadsheet. We'll go over the diesel engine real quick. We'll go over the twin turbo V6, but there's also a huge elephant in the room when it comes to the powertrains of the LX. And no, it's not the lack of a V8. It's a lack of a hybrid. But let's go over the diesel first. So for you guys in the Middle East, in other parts of the world, Japan will probably get this diesel as well. You get the 3.3 liter F33A. Of course, that's going to have the 10-speed auto, 304 horsepower, and 516 pound-feet of torque. We see this on the new Land Cruiser. Of course, it's coming in the new LX, just how there was an LX 450D in the previous generation with a twin-turbo V8 diesel, which is pretty sick. The 1VD, if I remember correctly. But we're not getting any diesels. We're getting this engine right here. This one right here could be going into the GX 550, but that's another video for another time. But here's this turbo V6, 409 horsepower with 479 pound-feet torque. Stellar engine. It feels like it's more smooth than what it was when the LS first came out, and the LS is tuned more for power than it is for torque. But really, I think the LS has 416 horsepower and 442 pound-feet of torque, and we're real close with that horsepower number, but we have a lot more torque on this model, so pretty cool. The new Tundra has a twin-turbo V6 hybrid, which I need more time with it. I didn't find it that impressive, but it's going to really help with fuel economy in theory and be able to get you 27 miles per gallon. Now, that is just what I've heard. It's not confirmed on the new Tundra. Toyota has not communicated the miles per gallon on the new hybrid. They're still working that out, it seems like. But 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque. And we have a 48 horsepower motor in there, but more importantly, we have 184 pound-feet of torque with that motor to assist the gasoline twin-turbo V6. So we have a really impressive hybrid powertrain that's not even announced, not only for the Land Cruiser, but for the LX. And that it's coming because the LX 750H has been trademarked. It's just, I don't get why they haven't announced it. And the reason could be is that could be so far away from making it to production, or should I say the certainty of getting those battery packs and the things they need to make this vehicle could be very uncertain. So they're not even giving us a window of availability. In fact, they're not even announcing the trim or this hybrid engine option. For the twin turbo V6 hybrid in the Tundra, it's going to be available 3 to 4 months after the twin turbo V6 hits the markets with the non-hybrid setup. So Tundra goes on sale this December, I believe. And then they said the hybrid, I think, is spring of 2022. Now, a big elephant in the room is, well, Toyota has hybrids, a plug-in hybrid, and a couple of them, called the Prius Prime and the RAV4 Prime, and they're really, really excellent vehicles. Could they bring that technology to the Tundra, to the Land Cruiser? Absolutely. Electric motor, this 48 horsepower one is modular. They could just plug and play, take that out, put a fatter one in there, maybe 150 horsepower motor with 300 pound-feet of torque. These are just my estimations, and give us maybe a battery that's slightly larger than the RAV4 Primes. They could use the RAV4 Primes too if they wanted, but your range is probably going to go down to around 30 miles of plug-in range, which is no big deal. You'll still get around 25 to 27 miles per gallon, and then ridiculous amounts of power. All right, let's just get out of the calculator and we'll do it. 479 plus 300 times 88% efficiency. So you'd get potentially 685 pound-feet of torque, 685 pound-feet of torque on a Tundra Prime or an LX 800H Plus, or whatever they want to call it, LX 850H Plus. Who knows what they'll call it. But it's a possibility, and it's just a matter of time, in my opinion. But we know by 2025, every single Lexus model will have a hybrid option. Just don't know why they're not talking about it. It's probably because they can't guarantee availability time frame. That's my guess. That's why they just left it off the table for now. But anyways, I'm going to have to end it there. New LX is coming. It's going to be the best LX ever. It's going to be better in every single way. Besides, I know some of you want that V8, but other than that, it's got better fuel economy, better power, better torque, better off-road capabilities, better software, better infotainment, better luxury. Like, it's a better vehicle head to toe. Can't wait to see what the different packages cost. The 5 different packages here in the United States: the base, premium, luxury, F Sport, and ultra luxury. I think those are the packages off the top of my head. But yes, no off-roading LX for America, even though there's one for Japan with front, rear, and center differential locks. Ugh. Anyways, makes me sick to my stomach. And there's no hybrid. And the F Sport looks silly. We don't need an F Sport LX. Anyways, I'm going to end it there, guys. If you enjoyed today's video, smash the like button. I'm still super excited about the LX, and I can't wait for those things that I talked about that should have been on the model to come, because I'm almost positive that we'll get an off-roading variant eventually for America. And of course, hybrid is guaranteed, as Lexus said it is. It's just not announced. Anyways, I keep talking about this. If you enjoyed it, smash the like button, subscribe for more Lexus news like this. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, peace out.